In this tutorial, I want to talk about the IFERROR function in Microsoft Excel, what it is, and how you can use it to make your spreadsheets a little more clean, more robust, and have some logic that just generally flows better. So the IFERROR function just basically says, hey, if this calculation or value gives me some sort of error, what do I want to have happen instead, whether it be some sort of a value or a calculation. So to give you a basic example of how this function works, we have a total and you have a count. You want to produce an average, right? And as I'm sure you can probably anticipate by looking at the numbers, whenever you try to produce an average, we get a div0 error right here. Now, this isn't very good, because if you want to produce a sum or any sort of calculations based on this, it won't work well. To remedy this, we can use an IFERROR function. So if this calculation produces an error, we can have it return a 0 instead, for example. Or we can have return a blank with these two quotes right here, as you can see. Or we can add an additional complexity by having it do a different calculation. So if this produces an error, we can have it be the total over 1 instead. Or we can even say, hey, instead of the total over 1, we can do the total over the average of the count, for example, and have a number that will probably make a bit more sense with what we're trying to do. So you can see this produced an error, but instead of giving you the error, it produced the total over the average of these counts right here. Now, the IFERROR function, the beauty really lies in one, cleaning up your formulas, making so if something's an error, then it will return blank or 0, which can make different functions work a lot more efficiently and cleaner in other calculations. But it's also if you want to make your logic more robust. So, for example, let's just say we wanted to get the average revenue for each of these countries right here for the data that we have, right? To do that, we can do an average if. So we can want our average to be what the criteria range should be the country. And one thing though that you can do control space and then criteria. We can have the next criteria is a country. And then the last piece is our revenue. So that is the area right here. And you control space highlights the entire column, which is great because it can prevent the need to adjust ranges going forward and different things. So close parentheses. As you can see, that our average revenue in Canada is $7,000. I'm going to adjust this to the currency real quick, make it a bit lower. And now, as you can see, we can drag and drop this. We get a div0 error right here. Why is that? Well, Spain is not in our data set. Turning on a filter real quick, as you can see, Spain is not in our data set right here. So, but we can say, well, hey, if we don't, see the revenue for the country, we want to return the average revenue for the continent, for example. So you can say, well, if this is an error, then we want it to be the average revenue for the continent. So it's going to be the average range. And then the criteria is going to be the continent. And the average range is going to be revenue right here. And this is great because, as you can see with this formula right here, the first it tries to do average if of the country, right? Saying, hey, what's the average revenue of the country? But if for some reason the country isn't there, we want to get the average revenue of the entire continent, right? So we can copy paste this down. As you can see for Spain, instead of getting the average revenue for the country, we get the average revenue of the continent, which is generally in line with what we see with other countries in Europe as well too, with Germany with almost 6K and Spain and France almost 7K. So, it's a number that just generally makes a lot more sense. And this is also helpful too if, for example, you did get XLOOKUP, right? And if you get XLOOKUP, you're gonna throw an XLOOKUP here kind of for a quick example. Let's just say we wanted to do an XLOOKUP of the country in our data set just to see if it's there, right? This is not going to make any sense. We want to see, like, so I'm just going to throw something out there real quickly. This doesn't make any sense with this data, but the point is that if XLOOKUP can't find something, then it will produce an NA error, right? The IFERROR is huge because we can have it look up something else. You have it look up the content, for example, instead. It doesn't make any sense in this context of this data set, but it's huge because you can have it look up something else. So that said, I hope you found this to be helpful. If you did, like, subscribe, comment. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.